Okay, in this video we're going to look at some of the most common statistical functions available in Excel. So again, remember there are many more, but these are ones that we might use, most people might use more frequently. So the first one is average, and that's simply equals average, and then you select the cells that you wish to average. Now of course we can adjust this to say that we want those displayed as numbers, and let's say the 2 decimal places, just to even out. Okay, so average is a simple one. We also have something called max, min, and median. And let's do those one at a time. Equals max, and I select the range of data that I want to check. And that's saying my highest score or maximum score in that column is 100. And now it's picking up the maximum score for each of these columns. Now min works very much the same. I'm going to be careful not to select the max, but simply the set of data that I want to work with. And so now you've got a range here. Oops, sorry, copied it the wrong way. If I wanted to find the range between the min and max, I could just do that by saying max minus min. Okay, so 100 minus 67 would tell me that there's a range of about 33 points between. Median is another, equals median of that data set is 84, so the middle number in the list. Oop. Really don't need those. Okay, now I've got a 79.5 here, and what that's really telling me is that there are 2 middle numbers, and so with the median it's taking the average of the 2 middle numbers. And the reason I have 2 middle numbers is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which shouldn't give me 2, but this one doesn't contain a value, so therefore I'm only dealing with 8 numbers. Same conditions existed over here, it's just that once the average was done, it happened to average to a whole number. Okay, so that's average, max, median, and min. Now, a couple of other functions. What we can do is we can use a function called small, and let's say, let's use large first. That's the highest score, the second highest score, and the third highest score. So I'm going to say equals large from this set, comma 1, meaning I want the largest number. Now of course that's the same as the max. But in copying that formula down, I could say I wanted the second highest score out of that set. Oh, I'm sorry. You can see here what happened is the values incremented. So, yes, I want C2 to C10. But what I also want is to lock those in with an absolute reference so that that doesn't happen. Okay, let's copy them down now. Now when I change this to 2, it should get the second highest score in the list, and now the third highest score in the list. And do we have, yes, we have 289s in there. So we'll bring those across. Up, and you can see the problem is I put in absolute values where I shouldn't have locked in the column reference. That's not necessary. So let's get rid of that. Oh, sorry. Let's get rid of the absolute reference in the column. Put that in a weird spot. So I'll copy it up. I'll copy it down. And I'll go back and do my edits here. That's 1. That's corrected 2. And this is my third highest. And now I can bring those across. Great. And now the information is more accurately displayed. Now, I'm not going to do it, but I could go through and get the lowest, second lowest, and third lowest. It's the exact same function except using small instead of large. Now, a couple of other functions we can use. One is count. And let's see what that does. I'll just put it over here. And I'll say equals count and what it's counting here is how many arguments I have. So in other words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you can see that's the number here. Notice that several of them only contain 8, and that's because it's only counting the cells that have numbers in them. And so my exempts here and my blank here are not being counted. An alternate form of count, or count A. See what that it does. Count A counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty. So in this case it's the same. 9. Notice that the 8 here turned into a 9 because this cell is now not empty. There's something in it. It's just not a number. So count is going to count the number of cells in a range that have numbers in them. And count A is going to count the number of cells that are not empty. So you can see this one is empty and it's the only one that reflects an 8. An alternate approach would be to count the blanks. Oops, escape there. Count blank. And that of course will be equals count blank. I'm going to count the blanks in this particular range, and there are none. But you can see there is actually one blank or empty cell over here. Now interestingly, if I put a space in there, it's no longer blank. So it has to actually be empty in order for that to register with both count A and count blank. Space does count as something. And that leaves us with 2 functions. Again, there are a lot more, but these are very, very useful. And that's countif and countifs. So let me start by altering my data here. And for some reason in this data I'm concerned about gender. And I don't know why, but perhaps I am. Okay, so there are my gender markers. And so what I'm going to try to do here is just see how many boys I have in a class and how many girls. So here equals countif. So I'm going to count if in this range the letter M exists. And you can see that we have 5 males. And here we're going to count if the same range contains the value of F for female. And there's 4 of those. Now countifs works in a very similar way, but it allows you to have more than one argument. So let's take a quick look at that now. I'm going to insert a column, make a little more room. So I'm going to put 2 headers. And what I'm looking for now is the number of males and females that have scored above 85 as an average. Okay, so in order to do that, or one way to do that simply is to say countifs this range. So count if within this range, and I'm going to give that an absolute reference, is equal to this. So this value will count up how many m's are in there, or it will filter by how many m's are in there. So if you're not an m, you don't get considered in this anymore. And when I copy that down, it will do the same for females, for f's. Now the second argument is going to be based on the average range. So I'll select that, make it an absolute reference, and then put in my second criteria. And you can see that you can put in a third criteria if you'd like. In earlier versions you can only do 2, but you can do multiples here. And I'm going to put inside quotes that I would like something that is only greater than or equal to 85. Close the quote, and we'll close the parenthesis up there. So let's take a look at the whole formula. This range is equal to whatever in the adjoining cell, and this range is greater than or equal to 85. So you can see that 3 of the boys meet that criteria. And if we say here, well, this one does, this one does, this one does not. Oh, and this one does. So yes, it is 3. When I copy it down, at this point only 1 of the girls meets this criteria. I guess this girl here, not this one, not this one, and not this one. Okay, so that concludes a quick overview of statistical functions in Excel. There's a lot more and a lot more things you can do, but it kind of gives you an idea.